Schumacher brand battery charger that's got an issue with the button. Go ahead and plug in the device. I've got the two clamps slated over there, and you can see it turns on. And my problem is this rate selection button. I can press it and nothing happens. It seems to be bottoming out. Certainly tried pressing harder, kind of pressing on the edges to see if it was stuck or something, but that has not worked. So I'm going to take it apart and we'll see how to fix it. Probably goes without saying, but you definitely want to work on it unplugged. And then what I like to do is connect the positive to the ground so that if there's any built-up capacitance in the unit, like in the rectifier or even in the transformer, that'll hopefully kind of bleed off through the inefficiencies in the wiring. Now to open up this charger, you're only going to need a couple things. I've got an iFixit toolkit, and you will need the number 15 safety Torx. That's the one with the hole in the middle. You'll need a number 1 Phillips, or in this case I prefer to use a number 1 JIS. I tend to find these fit a little bit better on these China assembled products. What might also help is one of these spudgers just to open up a connector, and I'll show you where that is later. You'll also have to have a healthy appreciation for the risks you take on opening up a device like this. Electricity is very dangerous, obviously. Now to actually open up the device, there's only 5 safety Torx. There's going to be 1, 2 on each side, and there's going to be 1 more Torx right under the lip there. The Phillips will be used to remove the PCB that's behind holding the LEDs and the button. With all of the screws removed, this top plate will lift off and fold forward. Put the 2 tabs slot in there. That's the last thing to be removed when you take it off, and the first thing to be placed on when you put it back on. Now in here, certainly be worth keeping your hands off of certain components in here, just in case. So we do have the transformer. We've got our power in over here, the 120 volts. Split over the transformer. Our high voltage side is on top, and our low voltage 12 volt higher current is down at the bottom. And then that runs out through this rectifier, which does have a fairly hefty plate of aluminum on some of the transistors to help keep things cool. And then there are some capacitors here, so that's why I did connect the jumpers earlier. So the main part we're actually trying to get at is up front here, and it is this PCB plate. You can barely see the switch just inside of there, so I will show you how to get at that in a moment. This part is pretty easy to remove. It's just 4 Phillips style heads. You do probably want to remove this spade connector there, the red wired one, and then back here you'll have to remove this connector. It's a little bit hard to do one-handed, but what I found seems to work is just pry out one side, but not necessarily all of the way, and then you should be able to pull loose the other side. And then for the spade terminal here, I usually just wedge it up until it stops moving, and then I will take it the rest of the way by hand. It is on there pretty tight. Now this front panel can be taken off, and we can just work on the front PCB. Remove these 4 screws. Now we can take a look to see what we have under here. Just a regular PCB, and you can see our little switch here that should be actuated by this gray plastic button. When I first opened this up, I pressed fairly firmly and I felt it kind of unbind, which was a little bizarre. I've never actually had one of these, come across one of these that's failed. But you can hear the switch is fine. So we've got some kind of problem between the switch and that little plastic piece. And what that problem is a concaved shape to the plastic, which means the shoulder of it is completely bottoming out on the surrounding portion of the button, and you can't actually ever push the button down. So my solution to this problem is a hot glue gun. Get in the hot glue gun about 5 minutes to thoroughly heat up, and we're just going to drop a bit right in the middle here to try to fill some of the void. And now it's getting stuck. Probably could have let it heat up a little bit more. Come on. As the hot glue started to cool, I just pressed down with my finger to create kind of a slight flat spot, and that's what'll kind of butt up against our little micro switch. Adjust as needed, but I ended up needing a lot less hot glue to make this work. Now to reinstall everything in the reverse order, we're just going to drop our switch back in place. We'll take the PCB, place it back over, and just make sure that by screwing it down we're not going to accidentally already press the button, but I can already tell it's going to be fine. Mount our 4 screws, mount the plate to the front, and also attach our 2 connections, and then we can put the top cover back over and tighten everything down. Alright, that's the outside all put back together. As you can see in here, the switch actually clicks now. So let's plug it in and see if it actually cycles through modes. I've once again separated and isolated my 2 clamps. We'll go ahead and plug in the device. There it clicks on, same as before. So we've got the 10 amp, the on, and the clamp reversed or bad battery, which is because these are separated. So let's see if we can select now. There we go. Engine start. Sounds like it's given actually like maybe 50 amp pulses. That's pretty cool. And then our charge and maintain option. That's really nice to have, because this I think this cost me like $80, and it's the only option I could get when I was doing my head gasket back in the day. So it's nice to actually have this thing work to its fullest potential.